Welcome back to part 34 of Death End Request 2, where today, after learning the truth, we're going to start pushing through the final area of the game, and the only real dungeon, I think is the best way to describe it in this game, because the rest of the time we've just been exploring the Leshiora city, but you cannot leave the brink of life and death until it is done, but when you finish it, you just beat the game, so this is it, which is why I always recommend leaving that save back in chapter 7, just so you can access everything if you wish to go back, even if it is quite a ways back. You're going to see me experiment with equipment a little bit in this video as well, because this dungeon is actually deceptively hard. Like, I brought a new weapon. I didn't buy a new weapon for Liliana because with me still following the rule of I'm not using any money that comes from the DLCs, you're gonna see, like, I get these two weapons. I go to buy one for Liliana as well, and I'm like, no, I'd go under.
Well, thank you.
366,000, and it's 700,000. So when I look at these, and I'm like, I actually come back off screen and buy a guard bracelet and put that on Liliana, just as a heads up.
Well, thank you.
But that's after fighting some of the enemies, so we have enough for it, and to be safe, because I'm still working off the logic of imagine that money's not there. It's a bit OP that you have it. But to hell with Julieta. Yeah, when I heard what she did, I could never forgive her. And Sanae. Yes, Sanae and the other doormates. I have forsaken them. I'll put an end to her plans, and we're reclaiming our lives. You're right. I'll be right behind you. Rotti, thank you. I'm counting on you. Yeah, let's do it. Everyone's dumped the future on our shoulders. This is becoming tiring. But I've made it this far. I can't give up now. Yeah. I wonder if my mother would do the same for me. Headmistress Midra loved you so much, Rotti. Mother. But that doesn't mean what Headmistress did was right. Yeah, I know. But it's not your fault. So you need to learn how to live your life too, Rotti. Everyone's dead because of me. I can't undo that. Like I said, none of that is your fault, Rotti. Live your life. Okay. That's more of a I don't want this conversation to continue okay than a I'm gonna listen to you okay, if we're being honest. Like, Rotti doesn't want to argue that point. She feels guilty towards knowing the truth. Well, you're gonna see me fight the angle to try and get a good position to get Liliana in frame. I'm like, these fucking boxes. I can never forgive Julieta. You and Rotti suffered too much at her hand. And my mother. True. Such grievances cannot be forgiven. Still, putting an end to her plan will help. Indeed, you have my full support. Liliana, I'm relying on you. She may not be a demon, but she deserves retribution. Fucking hell, Liliana. Do you think Julieta's the reason for why things have been so strange around town? Probably. Could be. Then defeating her is our best shot to escape, right? I think so. Or so says Artemis Anashi. This program code they entrusted to us. That can alter the world somehow, right? Well, we've got it. We won't know until we try it out, so let's wing it. Okay, our ace in the hole. One of these days when it's like a nom nom nom, I'll just have a cookie in my hand and I'll just bite it and make that the sound that goes in the mic. Lily's appetite is insatiable. Oh yes, it is. Fighting on an empty stomach is a death wish. Were you hungry? Here you go. This is... Liliana, get it away from me. Oh, whoops. That's Mr. Piggy. Here. Eat this. Never mind. I'm good. When our business is done, I would love to visit your home, Mai. I think that's the point. I think when we get out of it, Mai plans on taking these two with her and having their own little family in Japan. But I equipped the new stuff we've brought.
How is it? Does it fit me?
And just brace yourself. Like, you might be surprised if, like, you've been finding the normal enemies in the game, like, really reasonable and not that difficult. You might be surprised when you randomly tank a game over in this dungeon because one enemy just got lucky and wiped your fucking party. It actually happens in this recording, and I kept it in just to show my point. There's a fight coming up later on where it turns from doing alright to just completely falling apart in half a second. These enemies are interesting because they have brutally high physical defense but non-existent magic defense. So if you just ready a star beam, they'll die. But the amount of times I've seen people play it, not notice that, going for a physical attack and then just not hurt them whatsoever and think that these enemies are really annoying. It's like, look, they're dead. They're already dead. The rest of this is just overkill. But because of that, these enemies are actually probably your best grinding enemy, because you can just destroy them without them giving them a chance. Look how much experience you get out of this. All the enemies in this dungeon drop a lot of experience. Although it's not as bad as Odyssea in the first game, don't be surprised if you get close to the level cap by the end of this dungeon. So it's nowhere near as bad as Odyssea, where you straight up hit the level cap and you're only like halfway through and you're like, oh, okay. And suddenly you're like level 100 and something by the time you get to the final boss, but your level has less significance past 99. No, you're not likely to hit level 99. You'll probably be around level 80 to 85. If you're fighting every enemy along the way. But still, it's still one of those things where you sit there and go, damn, they drop a lot of experience here. Those two doors to the left over there, don't worry about it right this second. This entire dungeon revolves you going through it, and then back through it, and then through it again. To get everything. Rotti, you okay? Yeah, I remember everything now. So much pain. Even if my mother committed these crimes for my sake, I have to put an end to it. The headmistress's sins might not be forgivable, but the real person at fault here is the person who used you for her cruel plans, Giulietta. Liliana. On top of that, they're demon worshippers. We must stop them. Liliana scowled, using a middle finger to push her glasses upwards. You really are a clever girl. It's encouraging, you know. By the way, Rotti, how in the world did you end up there? After we defeated my mother's shadow matter, my vision went dark. The moment that we defeated Midra, memories of the past came flooding in, so I probably passed out too. I heard my mother's voice in the darkness. She told me to return where we belong. Then, it's all blank. When I came to, you were standing in front of me. I was so happy and scared I cried. I see. I understand now. For me, it's like I said, I passed out, and when I awoke, I was in that room. God gave me advice. He told me to hide for a while. I see. God spoke to her? Was it Sheena or Mizunagi? When we passed through the door of the strain area, we saw a world that had been warped. A repulsive passage into darkness. Only a Rotti and Liliana could I withstand the despair eating at me. It's creepy out here. Mai, let's hurry. I'm worried for Sanae. Yeah. Oh, there he goes. The enemy just popped out of existence. This is such a weird place. I really don't like it. Right. If you're here long, I feel it'll suck the life out of you. This world isn't like this world. I'm not sure that sentence makes that much sense, but whatever, Mai. You two, brace yourselves. And this is just the same enemy again, so final dungeon or not, I do cut it. Also, as I said before, don't worry about Liliana falling behind in levels. She catch up quick. She will catch up quick.
Something's here.
There's Mai's hair ornament, which is a good item, but in the same way of Rotti's, it boosts every stat by like 20 or 25, so you're gonna likely have better stuff by now, so it's not worth it. It's just a nice all-rounder to give everything a little top up. These enemies are a little annoying, and I just push for a speed star just to get rid of the small fry first, but the big guys can be a little annoying because they're a little bulky.
Another hit. Once more.
But there are invincibility marks around this arena that I should be using, and I just forget they're there. And to be fair, if you're colorblind, this section is a nightmare because all of the colors blend into each other. Like all of the glitch spots, you're going to notice as we go on, there's going to be a few points where you'll see me stop and look at it before I step on it, because I'm not actually sure what it is, because I can't work it out just by looking. Well, I can't work it out easily just by looking, and I'm not colorblind. I'm perfectly fine, and if I'm struggling, I can only imagine what it's like for people who are. So just be wary of that if you are colorblind going into this last section. Use that square button and check them every time. This is the enemy that kills this party, by the way, so well, as this encounter gets dragged out, because it ends up taking a while because I just get really unlucky with it, I'm going to use this opportunity to talk about the plot and what happened last part. Firstly, everything that we've experienced is a world on a loop, which might sound insane, but the world has already merged, slightly at least, with the real world from the first game. The world's Odyssey has already shown signs of merging. All the enemies we fought in this cursed town are enemies that we once encountered in the world's Odyssey. The fact that Iris is in Sheena's laptop also further, well, not Mizunashi's laptop even, further cements this. The world's Odyssey, they never found a way to stop the merging that would destroy the world, but they did find a way to slow it down in the original. Which is a theory that I had and shared at the time that's now been proven correct. And so there's glimmers of the merging, but a lot of people just don't know about it. They aren't aware of it. The only loss is that they don't remember Lydia, which is just this. It's just how it is. Lydia wrote herself out of existence, basically, so she could be spared and deal with her consequences as an observer who failed to deal with the planet when it had problems. But because this has been a world on a loop, Rotti's been stuck at 16 years old for 30 years because she's just witnessed the exact same year of her life 30 times, where Midra goes on a killing spree and eventually the guilt overwhelms her and she kills herself. Rotti witnessed it, and the severe level of grief that she encounters along with the curse caused her to glitch out, like, but real kind of thing. The world just corrupted her, and so she got stuck in the loop to always witness the same tragedy. So she's basically been tortured on her own mental tragedy without even being aware of it for 30 years. Which explains why Rotti has zero knowledge of technology or or modernist things. Like she just seems so alienated from it because she's from 30 years ago. But she is still 16 because of the time loop shenanigans. So her dating Mai, who I want to say is 17, isn't illogical and isn't wrong. Like, they're still teenagers dating before you go down that route. It's just technically she was born in the 60s or 70s, depending on when what year. No, I think this game is actually based in 2019. So that would make I've got to think, 2009, 99, 89, plus the 16 years old, so 79, 1973, Rotti was born, theoretically. And she's living like she was born in the early 2000s. Also, this is it. Look at this. It just kept on attacking and just fucked everyone. I was like, oh no! After Liliana went down, it did a group wide and hit the other two. I was like, uh-oh, this might be over. So whilst I was doing everything again, I jumped in front of Rotti, and she made that comment saying, Mai, if you keep on jumping, your underwear will show. And so I come back for revenge, but I get different glitch spots, and so because your glitch spots are always randomized depending on whatever you're in, so I get one that allows everyone to just go into their glitch mode, and I wipe the floor of this thing in revenge. But as I said during it, and I will reiterate, in the Japanese version, the delivery and the accent and the words that Mai uses when talking to Roti is meant lovingly, but the sort of love that you would only give to someone you see as a partner, like romantically sort of thing. So when she's saying, like, it's even before that, like, I had to do a bit more digging to make sure, but when Mai is crying because she thinks Roti is dead and is saying, please just make another joke, just say something, I promise I won't mock you, or I promise I won't turn you down. At the end of it, she says, God damn it, just hold me. In the Japanese version, she says, God damn it, just love me. Like, she just wants her back to be loved so they can be together. Like, it's deeper than that. Mai genuinely loves Roti in that way, even though the translation might make it a bit more suggested. Which is why, if you ever see me on my Twitter talk about this game, I mentioned Mai and Roti as a couple, because they are. At this point, they are a couple. They just don't do any of the cemented things that you would usually see. Like, you never see them kiss in this game or something like that, which I think they should have committed to. Like, just to really hammer it in, like, how far their relationship has come, that they've gone from Mai really not wanting anything to do with Roti and doing everything in her power to shove her off, to now genuinely loving her and never wanting her to leave her alone. She misses Roti's attitude when it's not around, her goofiness. I wonder how far this space goes. I don't know either. Regardless, I know it's not much of a place. How scared. You'll be okay, Lydiana. You have both Roti and me. Thank you. I'll do my best.
Oh, a save point.
And then it was further continued in that cutscene once Roti is proven to still be alive, when she says, "Don't ever leave me again." That has significance in our Western version, because you know the meaning of that and how significant it is. Like, Mai's like, never let Roti out of her sight, never be apart from me. But in the Japanese version, it is, although it's the same words, it's meant on a more loving accent. She is saying, "Don't ever leave me," as in like a partner. It's like, it's a double meaning to it, and I find that really cute. And it's a shame, like, I get why, because it's difficult to get accents and multi meanings of words from Japanese to English like that. But I think they should have tried to compromise by maybe just adding an extra line that not necessarily overly clarifies it, but just makes it clearer to the player that it's meant romantically. And it would just, so then I don't have to do this whole, no, it's in Japanese, they love each other shit every time I talk about their relationship. I still have a few people saying, "Are they really dating at the end?" And I'm like, yes they are. And if we get a Death End 3, I want to see them have a natural relationship. And I know this is Death End, so it will be really brutal and mean, and something bad will happen, and like they might die, and there'll be like a million Death Ends that ruin it. But I would love, just for once, to have a relationship between two characters that when a sequel comes along, there's no drama. I just want them to genuinely love each other, and that be it. I've never liked this Americanized, well, no, it's not just Americanized, but it seems most predominantly American system of any loving couple that's been together for a while secretly hate each other, and that's the joke. I know I've always hated this argument of, oh, that's just because it's how it is, it's realistic. If that's realistic, then I never want to love anyone. Like, it can't be realistic, it's stupid. And it's always been a dumb argument. No, there are genuine loves, and if you've been, lived, you've seen it. At some point in your life, you've seen it. You've seen these pure, unchallengeable loves, where two people have been together for maybe even until their elderly years, and they never stop admiring each other. They have this fantasy love that TV seems to make out is impossible and unrealistic, when it isn't. It's stupid. And I want them, just for once, in a piece of media, because it's so uncommon. Just let this couple be a couple. I want to see them be really cute in the next game. I want to see like a scene of them just walking around holding hands. You know? I want to see them just cuddle for like dumb reasons, because they're like watching TV in bed. Like, just, you know what I mean? Like, just have it be cozy, have them be loved. because the reasons I'll get into when we see the ending properly. I think Mai is going to be involved in the next game quite significantly, but I don't think she'll be the protagonist. In the same vein how Sheena was quite heavily involved in this game, but she wasn't the protagonist. And I hope it doesn't result in the same fate. I think I will punch myself really hard if they decide to kill Mai and give Mai a similar fate to Sheena in the third game, because that would just be horrible. Like, of all the characters in this series that deserve to be happy, the 3 I'm looking at right now are them, as we continue to persevere through this dungeon.
I think you'll make it, Roddy.
Also, at some points you will pick up keys.
Something's here.
Well, it's more in the third area. You'll pick up a key that doesn't seem to have a purpose. The moment you find that, know that that is not for that area. It's for the area we are currently in. You will also find an accessory for each one of the digitized members in here. So you'll find something for Sheena, something for Lily, something for Al, Lucille, Claire, and Celica through here to make them more powerful.
What's going on here?
And it's the only real exclusive equipment they all get, so make the most of it if you do decide to use them. As I've said before, and have proven throughout all of this, I refuse to touch them because it doesn't feel like they belong in this game. It feels like they were a DLC thing that just got made canon and made, no, we're going to make it in the full release last second, because it feels like they shouldn't be here. And there's a lot of moments that we've already gone through where there's isolation or a reduction in numbers, and the game balances itself around that, that if you then just add in the extra members from the digitized version, eliminates the challenge. Like going after Abigail in the forest, and then Mai had to go off on her own. Yeah, it's a very short sequence, and there's only like 2 encounters you're likely to have, but imagine how different it would be if you then had like Sheena and Celica in your party as well. God, 1,000,000 experience points. It's only enough to level up once. And I think what ends up, at least for me, backing up that point more, is the fact that there aren't any actual DLC characters in this game. Whilst the first game did, it had Rapuka. There's no exclusive special endings for these casted characters. There's only, like, there's 3 endings to this game, and it's very clear cut. There's a bad ending, a good ending, and then the extra ending is basically good ending plus. And it's if you're on New Game Plus, you get an extra scene at the end of it, and that's about it. So you double, put on bit. This enemy is bulky as all shit, but it's not tough. But you're going to see it when it's hitting us. Look at how much damage it's not really doing. I'll say that, it's going to hit you a little hard, because Liliana's defensively not that great still. But you're at the point where Liliana's true magic should be starting to shine with her status-based stuff. The fact that she can buff the party, while at the same time making it so they all take half damage. And then, like, we never got the skill. We get, speaking of new skills, we get a new healing skill, which isn't as good as one she already has, which is a bit odd. Like, we never managed to get the skill that makes it so Liliana can make herself invincible. But I'll be sure to get it before we go into the pain area, because otherwise the pain area will live up to its name a little too much in the later floors. Like, it will become a nightmare to get done, because you have to be able to find this comfort zone of sometimes you won't be able to get all the buffs you need in one turn, and so members of your party will die, so you need someone to make themselves invincible solely so that's not a risk. And because Liliana will learn a skill that will just, she can make herself invincible, you need to do that. You need to get that.
Alright.
Knock him dead, Liliana.
There.
And you see, I use it here just to see if I can get a new skill out of the trouble, and I don't get it. At least this time.
It's my turn.
Because I think the new skill was to use one of each of those 3 heals, and then you get a new skill, but I'm not certain on that. I'd have to check.
I managed to win. I've gotten stronger. Roddy, do it.
Oh, another thing, when I went into that fight, I was worried that I'd missed dialogue, because I like a dialogue box popped up as I went to start that fight. But looking back on the footage, it was just my saying, hey, use that spot, Rotty. So I was like, oh god, thank goodness.
There's a PC here.
With only like 1 or 2 exceptions, I've done pretty well at not missing any dialogues. And even then, the ones I've missed, I've explained. 71, 73, 4. Also, you might have noticed in the first area, we opened the treasure chest, and on it said memo. Sometimes the codes won't be on walls, they will actually be on items now. It's only for this dungeon and only the pain area, so you don't have to spend too much time getting used to it. If you're not planning on going to New Game Plus, because you're not too fussed, you don't need to worry about it here. Let's review the situation. We've been experiencing less Shiora as it was 3 decades ago. The events with Midra's murders have been on a cycle. All of us have been pulled into it without realizing it. That sums it up. All because of Julietta's curse. To think she was trying to summon a demon. The curse has almost reached its pinnacle. We must prevent the ritual. Yes, if Sanaye's here, then she must be part of the ritual. Sanaye, be safe. My. Wait, we're all so young. If I'm actually from 30 years ago, then I'm actually the oldest here, right? Isn't that amazing? Rosie puffed out her chest triumphantly. I'm still older than you in maturity, at least. Does that mean Rottie's in her 40s? But never mind! Forget I said anything! Rottie's like, I'm not 40, Christ!
Shadow matter.
This giant empty space is a bit weird. But the intro is just shadow matter in weird spots sometimes. It's like, hey, in the most easy to avoid space possible, yeah, let's drop it there. Drop it there. Like, it should have been all the super tight corridors it pops up in. Which it does do a couple times in here, but not often. The shadow matter that follows you around the arena, as I've kind of talked about a lot, I feel is undercooked heavily in this game, and they could have done a lot more with it. There's more? Stop complaining. If you let your guard down, you'll be taken. That's right, Rottie. Mai's right. We have to stay strong. But I also understand Rottie's sentiment. Sorry, you guys. But just a little longer. Of course. It's for Mai. I'll do my best. Me too. There it goes. And if you notice, I've saved every single save crystal we've bumped into, where sometimes I don't bother. It's because I'm aware of the difficulty, and after that first game over, I'm not taking any more risks. It's like my favourite arena again. You know I always love seeing the bomb fields come up, because it does the fight for you. You just need to hit them once. As long as you get a knockback, it's over. So goodbye! Ugh. And we've got a couple PCs here. One is for the wall, but there's another around the corner for an exclusive loot. But it pressurizes you because the shadow matter is like, look, he's right there on the edge of it. So if you're trying to get that loot, you got to kind of lure him out and go around a little bit. Because I said, even in these tight corridors, you can just swivel it. This thing's hitbox is so small. The only way you're getting caught by it is deliberately or getting cornered. It really isn't going to happen. There's Life and Death Key Z, and there's the Richt Vial. The Richt Vial is a cool weapon, but if you brought that super expensive one, you might be tempted to stick with it because the magic damage boost is just so high on it, and you're sacrificing a lot for it. What's interesting though is that there's actually 2 weapons for Liliana down here, which is why I really wasn't that fussed about buying her one, because you get 2 good options coming up. And as you can see on the map, you can already see where the walls are. If they do a 3rd game, which they better, and they bring Mai back and keep this ability for her, I want them to get rid of the minimap giving away where the fake walls are. I want them to change that. I don't know how easy that would be to do, or how difficult that would be to do, since I think the game's level structure is based on its minimap, solely so it's easier for the game to keep you in the walls. But still. Also, you might notice we're getting a shit ton of money out of this as well. So if you can't buy those super weapons right at the start, don't worry too much. You'll be able to buy them soon. There's another save crystal yet before the end, and we're going to be backtracking because you need to get the last piece of the puzzle anyway. So really don't worry about it. But this is one of Liliana's weapon. the Fairy Potato. Which, look at it. Although you lose a bit of defense, the boost in damage is more than justifiable to go. This is a one-of-a-kind enemy here. This is basically the mini-boss if you decide to fight it. And if there was side quests in here, it'd probably be a side quest to take this thing down kind of thing. But we get, at least I get lucky with this, that the glitch spots are the corruption spots. So everyone I get to keep in their corrupted form, so Taral here doesn't end up standing much of a chance. Despite Taral's positioning on the field, you can completely avoid the thing if you just hug the corner as you go around. Its hitbox is small enough that you can just squeeze around it like that. And I try and push for a poison as well to speed things up, but I don't get it. But it doesn't end up mattering too much because I see a push for everything else. I double the defense as well just in case this fight ends up being a bit troublesome. Because on my blind playthrough, I did actually game over on this fight. Because I just wasn't as... I didn't have the strategies down yet. I didn't know what each character was good at yet, and I was just kind of winging it. And this thing just beat the crap out of me in return. But wall bouncing, do you see how much damage that did? If you can get this thing bouncing off stuff with like knockback, this thing will fall apart very quickly. Which I start relying on, as you're going to see here. I just push full physical, even though it has higher physical defense and magic. It's more of a bait than anything else to try and make you miss out on the knockback. Because look at that. This thing's already nearly dead. Even when it starts whipping out attacks like high damage and misfortune and terrorize. And I just push for the glitch form as well because I assume it'll kill it. Which it does. Yeah. But that's the real threats of this floor compared to the normal enemies, and even then it's not too bad. These two are kind of like... Well, I hesitate to say the final two because there's a real final two like later on. But you're likely to end up having to fight both of them to get by because the path splits left and right. But on the left path gives you the item to unlock the right door, and the right path gives you the item to unlock the left door. So you have to go down both paths regardless to open one of the sides anyway. And there is another Gigas down here too, which I'll be fighting, which every time I look at those enemy types, as I've said all game, I'm always like, oh great. Just because they're either really defensive or have loads of health. So they always take forever to kill. But earlier you might have noticed we picked up a key Z. That key Z is where we'll be going back with in a bit to open up some more doors. And I also get to show the biggest, like, without using glitches, the biggest speedrunning skip you're going to have in the base game for now if you get into it. Because the last door is blocked by a code, not an actual key. But you need to get that code, you have to backtrack through the whole dungeon with that key you've got. You have to go back to the second floor, open everything up there, which gets you a key back in the first area, and at the end of that you get a memo that tells you the code. The code never changes. As I've said all game, all the codes are the same, so if you memorize them, you're fine. The final code is also the easiest to remember, because it's 12534. It's literally 12345, and then shuffle the 5 to along. That is as simple as that. They didn't put too much thought into that code. So there's nothing stopping you from getting to the end. If you don't want to do the rest of the dungeon, just putting 12534 and skipping it. The game will allow it because you've still got the code right. Which is part of the reason why I keep on saying I'm always tempted to try a speedrun for this game, and I might do it. Because there's so many little things you can do to cut corners in this, I'm interested to see just how much you can cut away. The only thing I kind of wish is that the game embraced it a little bit more and gave you the option of like a timer in the corner that wasn't the in-game timer, because the in-game timer is a little wonky, and you'd only be able to check it once loading into New Game Plus, so it wouldn't be accurate. There we are. But there's 3 treasures down here.
Hey, a treasure box.
Bear Hunter, the other weapon for Liliana down here, which personally, like, it goes down to preference. Personally, I'd rather it be more bounced out, so I go for it, but you do lose a bit of physical attack in the process. But this is the door. Like, no, that's not the door. This is the door coming up. You need a code for it, and you won't have the code at this point. So, if you've explored all of it, you need to turn around right now because we're doing some backtracking. You need to head all the way back to the second area. So, racing through all the walls you've previously been to, avoiding the enemies just because it speeds it up, going back to the interior, the second zone. Instead of going all the way back to the first bit, we're now going to turn to the left path over here. Well, we turned to right, but it's the left path on the map to clear out this space. At the end of this space, we'll get a key that will, for the first area, and then in the first area, we'll get a memo that will tell us that code. I tried to avoid those enemies, but it didn't work out, so I was just like, alright, you know what? I'll just keep this fight in, because there's a unique enemy on the end. Not that it lives long. This thing, look, it's already nearly dead. It doesn't last long. Oh, I'll let you off, Rotty. It was earlier in the video and I didn't mention it because I just kind of left it in whilst I was talking about other stuff. But there was a fight where Rotty literally did the entirety of the work, and then it did that end dialogue of Rotty saying a victory for me, and everyone else goes, but you didn't do that much. And I was like, but she did. She did everything. Like, I like the extra dialogue, but there's a small part of me that kind of wishes they were a little bit involved, in the sense of you had to, like, if you all took damage and took bad damage, there'd be a comment on that. Like, if it was more believable and tied to what actually happened in the fight, like if you could trigger them instead of it just being random. I mean, don't get me wrong, I appreciate them being random for the simple sense of you get to experience more of them. But at the same time, if it was like you had to do it a certain way to get certain dialogue, it could make it a bit more fun to just, you get these little rewards of them chatting to each other and get a little bit more character out of them. As we get an advent of a berserker, which is a slightly different colour to the ones that usually join us, because it has a different battle stance. And then Rossi just gets fucking decked. And I'm like, uh-oh. Also, I hope you guys enjoyed everything I did for the 5-year anniversary the past couple days. The retrospective for Persona had been in the works for a while, and although it was a bit loose, my personal channel reflection was something I wanted to do for a while as well. And so being able to have the excuse of doing both and getting them done, yeah, it was a lot of workload, and yeah, my throat was not in the best shape at the end of all of that. But I enjoyed it, and I hope you guys did too, even if it was a bit rambly at points. But then what's new with me? I'm always a little rambly, because I always have so many points I want to make, but not sure how to deliver them. That key you just picked, that you would have picked up there, is the key I was on about, that you need to be taking back to the first area, which is why it says 1-2-XY. Because the XY is that there's 2 doors here, and the 1-2 is because all the keys that relate to the first one are based on Roman numerals. It's how it like works it out. If it's at the tail end of the alphabet, it's the middle area. If it's the early end of the alphabet, it's the last area. If it's Roman numerals, it's the first. So now we're going to go back to the entrance hall, and way back over in this corner, there's 2 doors. It doesn't matter which one you open. The door that I didn't go to first is quicker to get to the actual plot thing, but this goes to a lot of loot, so I decided to commit and go this way.
Hey, a treasure box.
And you get a martial arts bracelet, which is amazing, by the way. Look at it. A little later on, I actually go back and equip the rest of the stuff to the party-wide, so it's not just, no one misses out. And there was an item that I just barely missed because of this encounter that I want to talk about, and it was a demon ring. The demon ring is not that great, and I don't equip it to anyone, but I do come back and pick it up. So it's like literally right behind us. You might see it for a split second when the camera loads out. Nope, never mind. But it was literally right behind us. You saw it sparkle just as that encounter was about to start. As in, the demon ring, it's alright, but it doesn't do that much. It only boosts 1 stat and not by too much. And so any item that does it, it's kind of a waste. But I wanted to at least mention that it's there if you want to try and get one of absolutely everything in this game. Which is fair enough. I can think of many JRPGs where I've done exactly that. I'm not too fussed. I think I get pretty much everything. If not, I do get everything on this run. In terms of items on the field. I don't think there's a single treasure box I missed. But I still know that there are some people that are like that. I want to be very particular. But there's the code I was on about, the depths memo that gives you 12534. And so when you're ready, you can head on back. The moment you open this door, you will get the last field dialogue of the base game. Because just like in the first game, the moment you approach that last flag, there's no returning. You just go straight to the end. I think beyond this point is the end. You two ready? Yes. I'm fine. I'm fine too. Let's save Sanae. Sanae. We're on our way. And next time, on Death End Request 2, we're going to take that final fight to Julieta and try and save Sanae. But until then, you guys take care now. Peace.